I'm Ashira Ungar. Welcome back to the Kosher Convert. Purim ended just a few hours ago, so of course it's time to start thinking about Pesach. One of the things I love about keeping kosher is that it forces you to be creative. Pesach takes that principle to the extreme. Pesach can be really hard when it comes to food. I think the key is to simplify. So today we're starting a series that will give you some ideas for foods that are delicious that you can make easily on Pesach. The first dish in this series is French onion soup. Now, I started making French onion soup on Pesach because it was the only soup at the time that I used to make that didn't require an immersion blender, and I didn't have an immersion blender that was kosher Pesach. So this was kind of my only option, but it became a real tradition for me, and it's really simple to make. Now, all you need is a big pile of onions. This is 4 really large onions sliced. Get the biggest ones you can find. 2 tablespoons of butter or margarine, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and 4 cups of stock. Now, French onion soup is a really versatile recipe. You can make it either dairy, parve, or fleishik really easily. I know that I always say don't use margarine, but on Pesach, you really can't get away from using margarine because the earth balance parve substitute is not kosher Pesach. So I'm using butter right now. I think that this is actually a recipe that is great to do dairy because then you can garnish it with cheese at the end, and that's really nice. Also, there are some really good parve beef flavored stocks that you can get kosher Pesach, and then you can get a really rich French onion soup. Okay, begin by heating the oil and the margarine or butter and just let that melt down entirely. All right, once the oil is hot and the butter is melted, add the onions. The key to making this soup is time. You can see how much onion volume there is here. It goes probably halfway up the pan right now. And the key to making a great French onion soup is to let the onions cook until they're basically mahogany. That means they're gonna cook down to almost nothing, and you're gonna have this amazing, intense, rich onion flavor, and the onions are gonna be just a tiny fraction of the volume that we have now. So it's gonna be really interesting to see. The other really important thing to remember is you do not wanna let the onions burn. So you do wanna be stirring this from time to time. Every now and then it's okay to kind of put a cover on and let it sit for a bit, but make sure you come back and do not let them burn, because if they burn at all, if they stick to the bottom, you're gonna get a really burned flavor in the soup, and you don't want that. Okay, right now they're not sticking at all. They're coated very nicely in the oil and butter, and so I'm just gonna cover it for a few minutes and let it sit, and then come back and check and stir. Okay, we are finally there. We are just over an hour and a half, maybe around an hour and 35 minutes now. And you can see that is about as dark as onions can get without burning, pretty much. It's a really beautiful dark mahogany color. And I've been scraping the bottom continuously so I don't have anything stuck or burned at the bottom. And this is what you're looking for. And also you can see how much it's cooked down. When we started, we had a pot that was half full of onions, and now there's just this little bit here. So it really, really cooks down a lot. At this stage, not before it turns this color, but once it gets to this color, it's time to add the stock. Once you add the stock, all you need to do is bring it up to a simmer, let it cook for about a half an hour so those flavors can really all come together, and then season it with a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. So this is what you end up with. And you can see that it's got this lovely dark color. French onion soup is traditionally served with cheese on top, and so that's another reason why I think it's kind of great to make it either parve or dairy. I don't think you lose anything by using a parve stock as opposed to a traditional beef stock. And if you have oven-proof bowls, it's a nice idea to put them under the broiler and let that cheese get a little crusty. As always, recipes and other information will be on our website, thekosherconvert.com, and you can find us on our Facebook page. B'teavon.